Hello, Planet Earth. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. You've reached IDK, my BFF Jill 730. I'm Preston Young, and today I'm going to do another Buffy video, and I thought I've got the day off. It's a lovely day. It's getting a little bit brighter than I had expected, but we're in the cemetery. We are in beautiful Montgomery, Alabama, my hometown, and we are at the Greenwood Cemetery, where many of my relatives are not living. So today we're going to talk about Buffy's Scythe, and it's not necessarily Buffy's Scythe. Let's get that out of the way. We actually first encounter the Scythe in the Fray comic books. Fray is a vampire slayer who is called after 2 centuries of there not being a slayer, and we don't really get a whole lot of backstory as to why no new slayers have been called. Punchline is, she's the first slayer to have been called, activated into her power in 200 years or so. So this weapon is basically bestowed upon her by her demon watcher, and he basically tells her it's an ancient slayer weapon, etc., etc. So forget about that because we're not 200 years in the future yet. Now, in the end of Buffy season 7, which was its last run on television, Buffy is granted this mystical weapon that we recognize, if you had read the Fray comic books, as the Slayer Scythe. It's bestowed upon her by this woman who claims to be a guardian. She says that it's been imbued with the essence of Slayer power, and that it's basically a traditional Slayer mystical weapon. And it was used to banish the last pure demon that walked the earth, and it had basically been in Sunnydale the whole damn time. So anyway, Buffy at this point is hopeless. She's trying to fight the first evil, which doesn't manifest physically, and it's raising this army of uber vamps called the Turakan, which are these kind of Neanderthal vampires, if you will. So the Turakan has this great big army, and Buffy's got all these little girls who don't have any powers, and suddenly she gets this magic mojo weapon. So basically, at the end of in the very last episode, Buffy has Willow use this weapon to access its power and make all the girls in the world who could be the next Slayer, and women who could be the next Slayer, into Slayers right now. We don't have to wait for Faith to die, which is nice, because, yeah, I like Faith. So, whatever. If you're familiar with the X-Men storyline, particularly the House of M storyline, this is pretty much the same kind of thing that happens. The mutants, when the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, when she says, well, I'm just going to make mutants the peak of society, and superhumans are going to be at the top of society, and everybody else is just going to be beneath us. That's essentially what Buffy does. She changes the rules of reality. She says, I've got this weapon, I'm going to use it to basically put myself at the top of the food chain, and all these other girls, too. So we're in this world in season 8 where there are a lot more Slayers than have ever been, ever. And it's crazy. But the point of this video is Buffy's Scythe and kind of the importance to the character of Buffy and the whole Buffyverse. So during season 8, the first time we really see Buffy use her Scythe is when she and Satsu go into the military organization that has got Willow being held captive by the military and Warren and Amy. So she takes it into battle, whatever. So these vampires, these like goth vampires from Japan, they won Dracula's powers by gambling with him, and basically they're using Dracula's powers, and they sneak into Buffy's Scottish base where she's got all these Slayers, and they take her Scythe. And here is where the Scythe really starts to come into play, because basically what these vampires do is they have this witch who is going to undo what Buffy did. and they're going to make the Slayers lose their power so that they don't really have any kind of competition. So some stuff happens. They actually steal the Scythe from Buffy, and she is like, hey, that's mine. This is my stuff. I don't like when people touch my things. So she, of course, tries to go after it, and she gets it back, naturally. But they were going to use it on a grand global scale, because at first they were using it one at a time to kind of depower Slayers, but then they were going to do this great big portal majigger to amplify its power and basically hit all the Slayers in the world at the same time and just wipe out the Slayer line in one fell swoop. So we team up with Dracula, we make sure that shit doesn't happen. So then Willow and this witch are kind of fighting over the Scythe, and she gets a vision from her kind of spirit guide, Alwyn, the snake lady, sexy snake lady. And spirit guide Alwyn says, go to New York. We see the Scythe in the little vision, and she's like, go to New York, here's where your answers are. So they go to New York, Buffy takes her Scythe, they go up to this rooftop. Punchline is that Buffy gets taken into the future through this rift in reality, this temporal rift where some kind of event had taken place or is going to take place in the future. So Buffy, with her Scythe, is transported into the future, and she comes face to face with Malaka Fray, the Vampire Slayer, 200 years in the future. So there's Fray, and she's got her Scythe, and Buffy's got her Scythe, and they start fighting, and then they stop fighting. Blah, 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 blah. Dark Willow is in the future, still alive, 200 years later. We don't know why. We don't know why she's dark. We don't know what she's up to. But here's what happens. Basically, Dark Willow turns Buffy and Fray against one another. And Buffy's like, hey, Fray, this is dumb. We shouldn't be fighting each other. We need to be working together because we're Slayers. And the whole kind of thing about Season 8 is that Buffy's learning that her new Slayers don't work well together. There's only supposed to be one, and they all feel like they're the one. And here we are again, Slayers fighting each other. Only this time, Buffy has her own Scythe from her time, and Fray has her Scythe in the future. And Buffy actually is in this fight with Fray, and she's like, fuck it, I don't have time for this. She uses her Scythe and breaks Fray's, okay? Breaks it. Keep in mind that the Scythe is the physical manifestation of the Slayer power, which you could say would be the Slayer, but it has the essence of Slayer power in it. And so basically, she breaks this future version of her weapon, and that's very important because she does it with her own. And she actually, and Willow knew the whole time that she would, Dark Willow stands between Buffy and her way back to her time. And she says, you know what? It's not about who dies, it's about who kills you. And Willow's like, this is such a long story. And Buffy's like, I don't have time. She uses the Scythe to kill Dark Willow. And when she does, all of this crazy energy is released out into the ether. And P.S. there's no magic in this world. So Buffy goes back into her own time with her Scythe. Present day Willow is there, and Buffy's just crying because she just killed her best friend in the future, even though Willow was all kind of fucked up. So some stuff happens, and things with the Scythe kind of cool down. We don't really talk about it for a while. But the punchline of Season 8, going back to the whole Scarlet Witch parallel, is that the Scarlet Witch, in this reality that she creates where the mutants are on top, people are starting to figure out that this is not the way things are supposed to be. And there's this whole situation called Twilight, and it's basically, Buffy's very meta, and it's basically talking about trying to destroy the Twilight craze. Vampires aren't nice, vampires aren't cool, we can't live together in the sun and sparkle, it doesn't work like that. And so, at this point, tons of Slayers have been killed. They're basically public enemy number one because vampires are out in the open and they're the cool new thing. So it's all going to go down at this place called the Seed of Wonder, which is actually under the Hellmouth. We find out that the Seed of Wonder is actually the spillover from some other dimension, and our whole reality kind of sprouted out of it. And the way it protected itself was the Hellmouth. The Hellmouth basically was how it kept from being tampered with, because there was enough demonic energy there to protect it. So they need to go down to the Seed of Wonder to basically fix reality for reasons that I can't really get into because Season 8 is so convoluted. So they have to protect the Seed of Wonder from being removed or destroyed. And they get down to it, and we find that Buffy's powers are weakened when she is around the Seed of Wonder. Some crazy stuff happens. Angel gets all possessed, and he snaps Giles' neck when he's trying to intervene with his evil plan. Buffy says, okay, that's enough, you know. And in much the same way that Wanda Maximoff says, no more mutants, Buffy just says, you know what, no more magic. This is causing way too many problems. It's just bad. And so she hauls off, and she uses her own scythe, which is the manifestation of Slayer power. It's imbued with the essence of Slayer power. She hauls off with the scythe and breaks the Seed of Wonder, which Willow told her she needed to protect. But she breaks the Seed of Wonder, and in doing so, she breaks her scythe. She, in turn, by destroying the essence of magic, she also destroys the essence of Slayerness. So there's that. Willow tells Buffy that she's done something horrible, that our world cannot exist without magic. It's part of what gives the universe life, and it doesn't seem like it now, but the world is dying. She took away something that it really needed. Buffy. So in Season 9, we find out that, Scythe is still broken, and there are all kind of bad repercussions for Buffy having used it to destroy magic. The walls between the dimensions are all cut off. Demons can't get back and forth. Witches cannot access magic in the air because it's just not there. Now, Slayers, vampires, demons like this, whose power came from within, it's all fine, but people like witches who access magic that's just out there, they're useless. They got nothing but their books, and I don't know how they're going to get rid of those, because nobody's buying magic books in a world without magic. Anyway, so Willow decides, Buffy keeps having all these dreams, and in this one dream, her broken scythe is at the top of this heap of trash, and she's trying to get to it, but she can't. And the first Slayer in her dream tells her, "You're not the Slayer, you're not the Slayer, you're not the Slayer." And Buffy's like, okay, I get it, I'm not the Slayer. I did bad things, I shouldn't have done this, but what's going on? And so, in the dream, Willow's like, hey, I know how to bring back magic, and I'm gonna need the pieces of your broken scythe that you broke all on the Seed of Wonder. Buffy says, okay, you can have it. So then she wakes up from her dream, and Willow's gone, and her broken scythe is gone. Okay, so Willow goes on this whole magical journey. There's no magic in this world, but she actually figures out that she can use Connor's blood to kind of make an ancient ritual to get to Kortoth. So she goes to Kortoth with Angel, Faith, Connor, and I want to say Gunn. Don't quote me. So from there, Willow goes on her own journey, and she opens a portal to the infamous world without shrimp, okay, because it's similar enough to our world of magic. So she's in the world without shrimp. She goes on this crazy Alice in Wonderland type journey, and she ends up coming to find Alwyn, her snake lady lover, who she hasn't seen since Buffy destroyed magic. The snake lady lover Alwyn you know, she was making Willow happy. She could give her something that nobody else could because she understood her in a way that nobody else does. And so she sees her snake lady lover, Alwyn, and she's like, oh, I'm so happy to see you. And she's like, oh, girl, come with me. You're in witch heaven. And so basically she has found herself in this kind of utopia for supremely powerful women of different species and, I don't know, from different realities. They're all different. And so they actually show her how to get they help her to repair the scythe. And so Willow's like, yeah, I've got my scythe repaired, and I'm just gonna use it to go home real quick. Well, she can't go home because there's no magic at home. She's in a world that has magic, and she's trying to get back home, but what she finds out is that there's no way for her magic to take her to our world because there's no magic there. She has to tether herself to something. Her magic has to kind of bounce off some other magic in order for there to be a communication between the two. And there's just, our magic battery is dead, and so she can't connect to something that's not there. So she ends up going to this other world where she actually meets Rack, the crazy magic dealer from season 6. Yeah, so she fights Rack in this crazy dimension, and she actually ends up in kind of like the heart of magic, like the very root of all reality and all magic and all this crazy and unexplainable whatever. So she finds out that she can't actually just go back to Earth because there's no magic there, but she can actually take magic within her, and this kind of supreme being of all-encompassing magic will send her there, and Willow will actually be the source of magic in our reality. And that is why Fray, still in the future, has her scythe intact, because the big thing was, at the end of Season 8, Buffy done broke it, so how can Fray have hers in the future? Well, it's because Willow got it fixed. Willow brought magic back to the Earth and essentially made herself the new center of magic. Now, she would actually later expel that magic into herself at the deeper, or from herself inside the deeper well, and create a new seed of wonder. So, that is what's going on with the Scythe, its importance to Buffy, the mythology, and particularly seasons 8 and 9. Wow, this has been a long video. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. You guys have a great day. Subscribe, comment, question, I don't know. Have a great day.